And right now, we are 2 minutes away from the end of the trading day. Romaine Bostick here with Katie Greifeld, taking you through to that closing bell. It's a global simulcast. Carol Massar, Tim Stenovec join us now. Welcome to our audiences across all of our Bloomberg platforms, television, radio, our partnership with YouTube. The S&P 500 up 2%, the NASDAQ 100 up almost 3%, a confluence of headlines crossing the Bloomberg terminal over the last few minutes, including the pricing of SpaceX, an IPO that will start at $135 a share, and news, Carol Massar, from President Trump saying that he has a deal with Iran that could be signed as soon as this weekend.
Yeah, listen, about 1:31 p.m. Wall Street time, the tone in the market certainly changed. That's when everything took off. That's when that headline crossed that President Trump said he's not going to do and pursue any additional attacks against Iran. The only thing I would say, we've seen some pushback by the Fars news agency. Iran not necessarily aware of any of this or any agreement. We're going to watch this very closely. But at this moment, investors, they are buying up treasuries, they are buying up stocks. Quite a rally on Wall Street.
And they're selling oil.
And they're selling oil.
$90 a barrel on both Brent and WTI.
We had a great chat with Stephen Cook over at the Council on Foreign Relations. He's written at least 4 books about this region of the world. And he was, look, this was in the 3 o'clock hour. It was before we heard from the president just now in the Oval Office. But he did say, we've seen this movie before. The idea that the president sometimes gets ahead of what Iran actually has agreed to with regards to this.
Kind of pointed this out
even
earlier.
though the market's
kind of surprised by the market moves, right?
Yeah, really. You think about what the weight on the market has been, what's been weighing on sentiment. It hasn't been the geopolitical situation. So to see this response, especially as Carol said, we don't know what the other side is thinking, is pretty interesting to see.
It is interesting to see, and I guess we're going to find out within the next 48 to 72 hours just how much of that is real. But for right now, you know, let the market have their party. A 2-day sell-off gives way to one of the biggest gains that we've seen since probably early April or late March. The Dow Jones Industrial Average up 929 points, or about 1.9%. The S&P adding about 127 points, or 1.8%. The NASDAQ Composite up 2.5%. The NASDAQ 100 up 3.3%. And the Russell 2000, Carol Massar, closing out the day higher by 86 points, or 3% even.
I got to say, Romaine, I'm almost surprised that not every name in the S&P is higher, but they're not. 320 names gaining in today's session, Katie. 181 to the downside, 2 unchanged.
Let's take a look at the sector makeup here. It's pretty interesting because on a percent basis, your biggest gainer is materials, which is maybe unintuitive, higher by about 3.3%. Romaine was just telling me how paper is made, which was fascinating. Industrials also having a great day.
Interesting. Is that the sausage being made comment? Did I overhear that?
Commercial paper or actual like paper from papyrus?
You know, we didn't really get into it.
Yeah, it's not papyrus, by the way, you know. But yes, it's very...
I don't know if you know where the word paper comes from.
It's thank you, Tim.
You got it.
Okay.
The history major.
Let's take this outside, kids.
Offline. Information technology, that is the big bright green slice there, higher by nearly 3% as a sector. In terms of what didn't do well today, it's probably what you would expect. Energy down 2% as a sector. Consumer staples, more of a defensive sort of bet there, also off by about 0.5% as we do see this huge rally.
That is not the color of a papaya. I'm just going to put that out.
No, I said papyrus.
Oh, I'm so sorry. All right, you know, what can I tell you? You guys, what are you doing? What are you doing? All right, let's get to some individual gainers, if I may. I had a lot to choose from, as you would guess. Got to talk semiconductors, man. Standout group today, they were up at their highs 8%, finishing just below that at 7.9% as a whole, the Philadelphia Semiconductor Index. We've seen this before. Broadly at play, you had shares in chip makers and other AI-related firms rising after Oracle reported quarterly capital expenses that were higher than estimates, driven by increased data center spending. So the assumption is that those higher costs, that has to do with higher chips and everything related. You also had some analyst calls, so let's break it down. Intel up more than 9% after BofA raised its recommendation to buy from underperform. A double upgrade on expected growth from central processing unit sales. Price target to 135 a share from 96. The stock closing just below 117 a share. Stock, though, up more than 200% year to date. That's Intel. Let's move on to Applied Materials and KLA. Barclays reaffirmed overweight ratings on Applied Materials.
Hey, Carol, I'm just going to interrupt you for a second. I apologize.
No, go.
The president's speaking once again about that deal that he is calling a deal. He says that he has heard that the supreme leader of Iran has agreed to the deal and that lifting the blockade is a part of it. He also says that he thinks that this could be done this weekend. So a bit of a reiteration of what he said before. But now the latest redhead crossing the wire is that according to the president, he's saying that lifting the Hormuz blockade is part of that Iran deal. And it is his understanding that the supreme leader of Iran has agreed to it. He also says that as part of that deal, Carol, that Iran will not have a nuclear weapon.
You know what's notable about this coming right now is the president's been speaking for more than 20 minutes at this point. And look, I'm not listening to this, and we're just looking at headlines right now. Perhaps he's being asked specifically about this, but it's interesting to me that it's just coming up now. And once again, Romaine, to repeat what Romaine said, the president says lifting that Hormuz blockade is part of the Iran deal, and under the deal, Iran will not have a nuclear weapon.
I guess what I'm looking for, I'm going to go back to what Katie said, because I think this is so important too, is that I feel like I've seen this back and forth. Does it feel like we're closer? Maybe, but I want to see some confirmation by Iran, because we've all talked about the different missions of the different entities involved in this war, and Iran has a lot at stake here.
And maybe confirmation as well by Israel, because of course that's kind of been a sticking point in sort of getting these deals, as they have obviously interests that don't always align directly with what Trump is looking for.
Yeah, and I will. Go ahead, Katie, please.
I was just going to say, absolutely. And you think about, the ceasefire that has been in place for several months now. It's been really sporadic. You've seen sporadic fighting back and forth between, a few different sides here, even throughout that, I think, 2-month ceasefire at this point. So, again, a lot of questions here, and it does look like we are in reporter Q&A. So perhaps the president was asked directly about that. But to return to Carol's point, the fact that, we did hear from Iran's semi-official news agency earlier today that leaders had not yet approved the text of any agreement with the U.S. We'll just have to see what comes out of the other side of the table.
Yeah, and we saw a lot of stocks that could potentially benefit from this actually move higher. The airline sector as a whole was up about 8%. Meanwhile, there was still a lot of pressure going on with a lot of the names in the software space. Oracle was down significantly. Adobe actually fell for a 5th straight day. And now that company actually out with their earnings from the most recent quarter. The company did say that in the second quarter, it did beat at about $6.62 billion on the revenue side. The street was looking for roughly about $6.5 billion. EPS, $5.96. The street on average looking for $5.83. Here's your forecast for the current quarter we're in. The company says look for revenue of $6.67 to $6.72 billion. The low end of that range is above the average of analyst estimates of $6.51. And Carol and guys, the adjusted EPS range $6.05 to $6.10 a share. The low end of that range is well above the average of street estimates of $5.77.
I mean, as we know, this company's been taking a pounding. Another headline crossing: the company's CFO Dan Dern departing the company June 15th. Again, this stock is down about 37% year to date. We are seeing now the stock turn negative, now down about 1.7%, Tim.
Yeah, the redhead, the Adobe sees third quarter revenue coming in $6.67 billion to $6.72 billion. The estimate was for $6.5 billion. Shares initially climbed after that. The numbers first came out, shares down about 2.2% right now. Second quarter revenue, $6.62 billion. The estimate was for $6.45 billion. The company sees third quarter adjusted EPS $6.05 to $6.10. That beats the estimate of $5.77.
I mean, this is one of those SaaS-apocalypse stocks. And we were actually talking with one of the executives a little bit earlier at ServiceNow, another software stock that kind of got caught up in that big downdraft. And they're now trying to make this case here that there's sort of this data management idea here that these companies actually benefit from despite the build out in AI.
I was talking to a video editor last week who's been using Adobe's tools for years and paying for them for years. He's freelance, and he said the number of startups where he can actually just essentially type in a prompt, leave, go pick his kids up from school, and then come back.
Wild.
And that editing is done. It's unbelievable. He's been doing this for 25 years.
Then why did it take so long to get that Nori clip on the web?
Which clip?
Never mind.
It's an interview that Romaine
I'm
did
just litigating
yesterday.
personal
I
matters.
do-
live.
Guess I haven't seen it yet.
Sounds
Sorry.
like there's a story here.
I'm sorry.
I do want to make the point, though, that outside of the numbers as well, there is an interesting story when it comes to Adobe's C-suite here. We're still waiting to see who their new CEO is going to be. Remember, their longtime CEO said in March that he would step down. Bloomberg has reported that Adobe is eyeing internal candidates for the role here. So maybe perhaps we're going to get more detail of that on the call, but definitely one of the watch items when it comes to Adobe. When you think about all these different existential crossroads that Romaine and Tim were just talking about.
Yeah, Steve Day to serve as interim CFO as Dan Durn departs on June 15th. All right, so that's just around the corner.